Hello, FPL managers, and welcome back to FPL Saturday Live by Fantasy Football Hub, where I'll be talking you through the 3 p.m. Premier League action live from an FPL perspective. We'll bring you all the goals, assists, bookings, injuries, dodgy VAR decisions, and anything else live as it happens, but most importantly, what this means for FPL. We'll also keep an eye on live bonus points, averages, and stats, courtesy of livefpl.net. As Adam is preparing to watch the mighty Villa in the Carabao Cup tomorrow and Rich is working, I decided I would try to keep up with the 3 games alone to see how we get on. It's pouring down with snow here in the Welsh Valleys, so hopefully the signal holds out. Please give us a wave or a hello in the live chat. Tell us where you're from, what you want from the 3 p.m. games, and who your captain is for this week. We're very interested to know. Also, any questions, comments, goals, or anything else you see, please get them up on the chat for us to discuss. So welcome Guillermo, Parky, Noddy's party, Ings off the bench, hopefully, absolutely. I've got Ings in my team as well. Dread FPL, Bilal Quashiri, Southampton Newcastle clean sheets with Ings scoring. Hopefully if Ings comes off the bench, obviously, I'll run through the team news in a second. Parky, Vardy to J. Rodriguez, transferred 2 minutes before the deadline last night. Hopefully because he's starting. Chris Wood is back, but he's on the bench at the moment. This game week could be brutal, absolutely. Parky, hello from Aberdeen. Hello there. And Madrid, no players for me from 3 games right now, so not the most exciting game week for you. So let's just have a look at the team news for those who haven't seen it. Obviously, there's only 3 games on this afternoon for the 3 p.m. games. We've got Bournemouth against Chelsea, we've got Newcastle and Burnley and West Ham Southampton. For the Bournemouth and Chelsea game, there's 4 changes for Bournemouth from last week. Nathan Ake returns, as does Jefferson Lerma. Lewis Cook and Ryan Fraser also start. Harry Wilson is benched, quite surprisingly. He started the last few, and more notably for FPL, Rico is benched, everyone's favourite 4 million defender aside from Lundstrom. There are also 2 changes for Chelsea as well. Tomori and Pedro return to the starting lineup. So how the lineups look: for Bournemouth, you've got Ramsdale in goals. You then got Smith, Ake, Stacey and Cook. In midfield, then you've got Billing, Josh King, Lerma, Lewis Cook and Fraser, with Wilson up front. Not sure whether King may be playing up front with Wilson there. And on the bench you've got Boric, Francis, Gosling, Solanke, Stanislas, Rico and Harry Wilson. So hopefully Rico comes off the bench for those who want the 1-pointers, or not for those who've got someone good in their first sub. Then for Chelsea, in goal, Caballero continues in goal, with Kepa out. We've then got Aspilicueta, Christensen, Tomori, Reece James at the back, Jorginho and Kovacic in the middle. You've then got Alonso playing advanced again. I wonder if he is an option in the coming weeks, especially as he was sent off in the Champions League. So he may get more league time. And also Chelsea have a nice run of fixtures coming up as well. Mount has his place in the team again. Seems to be playing really well at the moment. Seems to have refound his early season form. Pedro and Giroud continues in for the injured Abraham. On the bench you've got Kepa, Rudiger, Barkley, Willian, Loftus-Cheek, Batshuayi and Gilmore. Hello guys, hello FPL Goldfellas from Singapore, and hello Madrid Samesh from Nepal. Also hello Mithun from India. Follow from yesterday when it started. Quite a clean sheet was how to make up points with not very few options available in attack. Completely agree. I'm sure we will all have a chat about that in a bit. Moving on then to the team news for the Newcastle v Burnley game. So Newcastle, 5 changes from the team from last week. Out go Lazaro, Fabian Schär, Bentaleb, Sean Longstaff and Sam Maximan, and in come Manquillo, Matt Ritchie, Isaac Hayden, who I took out this week. I've transferred him out. I'll be very, very disappointed if he returns today. John Joe Shelvey and Dwight Gale. Burnley are unchanged, but Chris Wood returns to the bench, as I mentioned earlier. So does that mean Rodriguez or Vidra's minutes will be numbered in the coming game week. So the full team for Newcastle: Davradka, Manquillo, Fernandez, Lascelles and Rowe. So I've got Lascelles in my team today, so hoping for a Newcastle clean sheet. In midfield then, Almiron, Hayden, Shelvey and Ritchie, with Gale and Joe Linton up front, and the substitutes Shah, Saint-Maximin, Lejeune, Yedlin, Darlow, Sean Longstaff and Bentaleb. And then for Burnley, so we've got Pope in goals, Bardsley, Tarkowski, me and Taylor. The now popular Taylor, since Burnley obviously play in 28, they also play in 31, so he's become quite a popular pick at the moment. We've then got Hendrick, Cork, Westwood, McNeil and Vidra and Rodriguez up front. The substitutes then, Brownhill, Wood back on the bench, so you would expect to see him today and probably back in the starting lineup in the coming weeks. Brady, Hart, Peters, Lennon and Long. So those are the teams for Newcastle and Burnley. And finally, the big news of the day, very sadly for me, but also very sadly for a lot of players, is for Southampton. The big news is Danny Ings is on the bench, along with Walker Peters, who is also comes on the bench. The big news for West Ham: Snodgrass surprisingly on the bench, especially since he's been playing so well. Fornell starts, and also a starting debut for Bowen as well. So the West Ham team, to run through it: in goals, Fabianski. We then got Garcia, Jop, Ogbonna and Creswell in defence. You got Noble and Rice Holding, and then Bowen, Fornals and Antonio behind Haller. And the substitutes for West Ham: Balbuena, Zabaleta, Felipe Anderson, Lanzini, Snodgrass, Masuaku and Randolph. With Felipe Anderson, Lanzini and Snodgrass, it was a very creative midfield there on the bench for West Ham. So for Southampton, we have got McCarthy in goals, Ward, Prowse, Stevens, Bednarek and Bertrand. Looks like Ward Prowse may be playing at right back potentially again. We then got Boufal, Smallbone, Hoiberg, Armstrong, who obviously did really well last week. Very, very cheap. I think he's about 5.2 million. Could be a really good option with these games coming up for Southampton. Obafemi and Long. No Ings, as we've said. So on the bench, got Vestergaard, Danny Ings, heartbreaking Danny Ings on the bench. Adams, Romeo, Walker Peters, Gunn and Valerie. So they are the teams which we are looking forward to. The games will be starting any minute. The games will be starting in a minute or two. Please tell us in the chat what you're looking out for, what you want for the 3 p.m. games. That would be really good. So looking then at some game week stats then. So the top transferred players in for this game week. It's very interesting one actually, the top transfers in and top transfers out. Top transfers in: Bruno Fernandes, 455,000 new owners ahead of his sparkling performances of the last few games. Even though Man United do have some quite difficult fixtures, I would say, coming up, he has looked a great player. He's only cheap. I think he rose in price last night. He's 8.2 million, but surely he won't be that for long. And those were holding out for game week 31, 32 or 33. He may be a lot more expensive by then, even though I would say that price is obviously not massively important to this part of the season. Jamie Vardy, 311,000 transfers in this week. We will have a quick chat in a bit about the drama that unfolded yesterday. My head was absolutely fried yesterday with all the chat of potential double game weeks, Vardy injuries, all this kind of stuff. So that was very, very tense times yesterday. And the third one, Richarlison, who actually, I don't believe he trained yesterday. He's had 179,000 transfers in. I think he may be nursing a slight knock, but the manager's hopeful that he will be available to play this weekend. So they're the top three transfers in. The top transfers out: Aguero, 389,000 of us have decided that Aguero's time has come. Obviously, he's got the blank in 28, likely have a blank in 31. Flattered to deceive of the coming game. It's a lot of money to have sat. A lot of people captained him last week as well for his blank. It's a shame. Grealish, 349,000. I wonder how many of those 349,000 went for players like Harvey Barnes and Perez last night. Probably quite a few of those, I would guess. And the third one, and this really divides opinion, this one. Kevin De Bruyne, 332,000 transfers out. I transferred him out as well. Apparently I'm mad because he's taken a penalty in the Champions League. That means now he's, absolutely essential, even though he blanks in 28, will likely blank in 31 and does have a run of tough fixtures apart from home to Burnley in game week 30. But again, we'll have a chat about Kevin De Bruyne and the rights or wrongs for that in a little bit. If anyone does hear any goals, guys, I've got my alerts up, but if anyone does see anything before me, please shout in the chat. Apparently Ib Jamin triple captained Quaita. I'm not sure I believe you, Ib Jamin, but if you did, congratulations. Great work if you did. As we can see on the effective ownership stat on the screen, Quaita had an 11 pointer today. Looks like he's going to get maximum bonus after some saves as well. So at the moment it's a tale of the keepers. Quaita and Kroll are the ones who are taking the points at the moment. Captaincy stats for this week, some interesting ones. So these captaincy stats are for overall. So over in the whole game, 69.95% of players captained Salah this week, with 11.74% captaining Jamie Vardy. Mane was captained by 9.3 and Alexander Arnold 3.98. I do apologise. This is the top 10k stats. I do apologise for that. So 99% of players in the top 10k have gone for Salah, Vardy, Mane, or Alexander Arnold, and you would imagine that a lot of Vardy captainers would have viced Salah, Mane, or Alexander Arnold as well. So all eyes on that lineup later, which comes out at 4:30. Just let everyone know. I'm sure you're aware all the games have started. Haven't had any goals yet. If anyone sees any drama or anything else, please shout out. Let us know what is going on. And overall captaincy. So Salah overall captaincy 32.83%. Mane 10% overall. And then interestingly, the next five are not going to play I'm not going to play this week. So anyone who's captained Salah or Mane has got a big chance to move up this week. Vardy 9%, Aguero, De Bruyne, Aubameyang and Sterling. So you'd imagine a lot of those would be dead teams. Hello there to my namesake Andrew Ferguson in the chat, who took a -4 to bring in Vardy for Aubameyang and Barnes for Fleck, and now Ings doesn't start. It's been a disaster so far. FPL can be a cruel mistress. Completely agree. It seems to be on these 3 p.m. shows we've done over the last few weeks that the averages have been really low. I mean, if you look at the average now, the FPL average overall is 3.64 points from nearly 4 players. It's not been happy hunting grounds at the moment. There hasn't been many big scores apart from those who have used their chips. So they're the captaincy stats, and then in terms of effective ownership, which is also it's also very interesting because it tells you what will happen to your rank if these players bang or not. So in the this is for the top 10k. Salah's effective ownership in the top 10k is 163%. It's not quite as high as last week. Last week was 175%, but his effective ownership is very, very high. He's owned by nearly 94% of managers in the top 10k. If Salah bangs today and you didn't captain him, you could be in a bit of stuck. I noticed the live average just increased there slightly. I don't know if anything has happened. I can't see there's anything has happened. If it has, please let me know. The live average jumped up a little bit there. Alexander Arnold's effective ownership is 95% in the top 10k. Ings 80.69% effective ownership in the top 10k. Vardy 66. So those in third and fourth positions, that is not good for them. With 80% and 66%. Jimenez is 58%. Pope is 39%. Soyuncu, who has obviously played, got a 2-pointer, was 36%. Then Mane at 35%. Traore, who may or may not start for Wolves this weekend. Calvert-Lewin. Fernandes has increased to 30%. Robertson and Martial. And then we go to the overall effective ownership for all players. Salah's effective ownership overall is 82%. And he's owned by half the game, so 49% of the game home Salah. Alexander-Arnold's effective ownership is 51%. Vardy's was 49 overall. Van Dijk's 46, De Bruyne 39, Ings 38, Mane 35, Jimenez 33, Lundstram 23, Robertson, Maddison and Firmino. So they are the big players in terms of they've got the biggest effective ownership over the whole game. Let us know in the chat who you have captained today, guys. I'm the same as last week. I have captained Sadio Mane. Very, very disappointed that my other player, Alexander-Arnold, passed to Mane for that goal in the last minute to be disallowed. That would have been an absolutely massive rank boost. Didn't happen. Still got the point more than Salah, but let's hope for more today. So no goals yet in the 3 p.m. games. Hello there, Mark Byrne from South London. Great to have you on. Hello there, Bogdan, here as usual. And Madrid Samesh says, are you robbed? Yeah, it looks like he's only on for one bonus. we'll touch on that in a bit, with Guaita taking 3 points and Van Aanholt and AU tossing up between the two. And at the moment we will touch on that in a bit. Madrid, Captain Mane, welcome to the club, Madrid. Come on, Team Mane, hoping for that in the 5:30 game. Gary B is captain in Salah along with the rest of the world. Gary, I'm not sure his away record is fantastic. Be interesting to see if Milner is back. I'm not sure if he's back. And Ibjamin, no Snodgrass, no, he is on the bench today, along with a host of other players, which is seems to be upsetting everyone on Twitter. So just to look back then at yesterday's game. So I mean, what a game yesterday! If you're an engaged FPL manager, yesterday was just chaos. So after Arsenal lost in the Europa League on Thursday night, quite late in the night, we heard news all over Twitter that a double game week 29 was very, very likely. Ben Crellin, amongst others, all the kind of odds that was going around was 90+%. We would hear yesterday that there would definitely be a 29, and obviously this had a massive bearing on plans moving forward. I'd already planned to take out De Bruyne. A lot of people had already taken out De Bruyne. He's actually dropped in price, and Aguero as well. Absolute chaos there. So kind of waiting all day for that, and then on top of that, we learned that Jamie Vardy, we had some early tea news that Jamie Vardy was injured as well. So it was absolutely chaotic day and afternoon yesterday. I was in work trying to work out what the hell to do with my team, but thankfully we didn't hear anything about a double game week 29. There's only 10 or 11 days now until that could actually happen. I would be surprised if it was announced due to tickets and fans and everything else. If it was, I believe it would be the rearranged game against Arsenal, which would be quite a juicy one potentially for Man City players and potentially players like Aubameyang as well, because as we know, Laporte is injured now, so a double game week 29 could still happen. My kind of thought, how I left it yesterday, was if it does happen, I don't have any Man City players now. I also don't have any Arsenal players. I'm planning on free hitting in 31 at the moment. If it does happen next week, I may potentially look to free hit in 29. Though looking at my team, actually, I'm probably looking at a lot of teams. If you've got a lot of Southampton players, Sheffield United players, Liverpool players, Leicester players, home to Villa, which obviously a lot of people have got, then a lot of game week 29 teams are actually remarkably strong. So potentially we can get through it without any of those. Question from Ahmed: do we know the extent of Jamie Vardy's injury? I haven't got the quote word for word, but I believe Rodgers said yesterday he had a slight calf injury. He will very likely be back for next week, and next week will be the Monday night game at home to Villa. So obviously a very nice fixture for Leicester. I suppose a question, and please answer in the chat what you think, guys. Are Leicester just absolutely baked or what? Because they have been awful for the last few weeks. Is that game home to Villa actually a good game for Leicester or not? So I own Harvey Barnes. I brought Barnes in yesterday once I heard that Vardy was out. So, to kind of make sure that I had 11 out. But I've got Barnes and Vardy in my team. I just haven't got a clue whether that's a good thing or not now. So I'll be playing them next week for sure. But after that, it's like, I think they got Watford after that potentially. Bogdan Barnes played pretty well. Yeah, reasonably happy to have Barnes. But yeah, those Leicester players, they're just not doing it at the moment. Heard a bit of a joke earlier on Twitter that FPL should have told us there were 5 blanking teams this week instead of 4, with Leicester being the 5th. John Tyner said he didn't have any Leicester, but he has Barnes. He played the 90 yesterday. It was quite interesting because he normally gets brought off as well, but he played the 90 yesterday. So hopefully he will go on and play the 90 next week as well. But yeah, Leicester. So Aaron's assist for a Lewis goal in the 70th minute yesterday. Lewis claimed all 3 bonus points. Aaron's 2, Krull 1. All the Leicester players, or almost all of them, had 2-pointers yesterday. There was a lot of panic yesterday after that Vardy news. A lot of hits being taken to get Leicester players in. I even saw some Vardy to Iheanacho punt, which I'm not, for a 1 week punt, I can kind of understand it. But if Vardy's back next week, Iheanacho will be back on the bench. Are you going to go straight back from Iheanacho to Vardy? Seemed a bit ragey to me, but everyone has their reasons for doing things. John Tyner took a -4. He brought in Barnes, McNeil and Taylor for a -4. They all, McNeil and Taylor play in 28 and in 31, so I can understand that if you're not looking to free hit in 31. So the other talking point earlier on today was Brighton and Crystal Palace. I didn't watch it, thank the Lord. I didn't watch it 'cause apparently it was a bit of a bore fest. 1-0 to Palace. A Benteke assist, interestingly enough, for an AU goal. AU still around the 5 million mark, which is interesting. I thought of bringing him on my wild card because I had that budget available around Game Week 24, but I didn't. Yeah, he seems to be a really nice player. I think their fixtures are decent as well. Guaita took all 3 bonus points, got a save point or 2, as you can see on the board. He is on 11 points. AU, according to FPL Twitter, AU was on 2 bonus points, and Van Aanholt, who seems to be on 4 at the moment after his goal last week, he scored a point as well. Zaha had 2 big chances at the end, which he didn't take. He hit the post with one as well. So not tremendously exciting stuff yet this game week, with only 2 goals in the 4 games, and the effective ownership of all the players involved in those won't be very good. And the 2 teams to keep clean sheets, so Palace and Norwich, the ownership of those players not the best either, hence the incredibly low overall average we are seeing at the moment. So we can see on the screen that the overall average in the top 10k is 4.89, with just 7.66 players to play, and overall average of 4.91, with 6.52 players to play overall for everyone. There seems to be quite a few hits flying around, especially in the top 10k. If you look at that minus 1.10, that is the average, which maybe indicates that there was a lot of hits taken in the top 10k yesterday. We believe there's been a goal. I believe there has been a goal for West Ham, and we're hearing thank you guys on the chat. Jarrod Bowen on his home debut for West Ham wipes out Southampton's clean sheet. We've just had that confirmed, obviously subject to VAR, but we have had our first goal of the day. Bowen, we will wait for the assist now. But yeah, not good for Southampton players. I've got McCarthy in goal as well. I've just remembered, so I'm saying not good. Not good for me either. Pablo Fornal's assist, according to Andrew Ferguson. Thank you very much for that, Andrew. Fornal's assist. Bowen goal. Another FPL legendary double up there. So all 3 goals basically owned by no one so far, very interestingly. But yeah, that's so that's our first goal of the day. Come after 50 minutes in these 3 games. If anyone is watching it and can describe the goal for us, that would be really good. Thank you very much. But this Jarrod Bowen could be one to look out for potentially in the future. Looks a really smart player, and that is the first goal of the day. A lot of Stevens, a lot of McCarthy's, and a lot of Ings and everyone else. So not a good start for everyone who had Southampton assets there. Next thing we wanted to talk about then, tell us in the chat, how many players have we actually got playing in Game Week 28? Has anyone played their free hit? Has anyone taken a lot of hits? It'd be quite interesting to hear about that, because I've managed to scrape 11 out with a hit, but that was with Ings. So not sure what that means for the kind of the population, because it seems on Twitter, the Twitter universe is quite small. But it would seem that everyone was taking hits yesterday, and everyone's got 11 players. I was to hear on the chat how many of you have got 11 players out, or if you haven't, what have you got? Especially obviously because Vardy, Ings, and everyone else has been dropped. Andrew Ferguson and John in the chat. Yeah, it's a really good point there. Actually, probably. Ings may come off the bench now earlier than planned, potentially, with Southampton falling behind. I doubt he'll come off in the first half. And according to the manager, actually, this is quite interesting. I did have the quote, but I haven't got it in front of me. But according to the manager's quote on Ings, he has barely trained this week. I think he trained on Friday. He's on the bench, but they don't want to use him, which would be very, very interesting if that is the case. So. Lots of players in the chat there saying that they have 11. Well done, guys, for navigating this well. It'd be interesting to hear how many people have got their free hit. How many are using their free hit? How many are using chips this week? I did have a stat. I'll try and find it in a second. I did have a stat where I'm sure I saw that something like 5% of the top 10k are using their free hit this week, which is really interesting, especially with all the players that have been rested. And we'll touch on a minute about chip strategy, because I've got some kind of thoughts on this about kind of looking to take the points in front of you rather than planning a bit too far ahead, because you never know what's going to happen. I believe that the Premier League is changing a little bit at the moment in terms of rotation. It's not like it used to be. FPL have confirmed that Bowen goals with the assist for Niles, 1-0 to West Ham. Thanks to the guys in the chat. So JG 12 plus Traore and Rico. Sorry, 12 with Traore and Rico. Well done for that. Ibjamin, 12 players available. Tanganga, Ings and Vardy in those numbers too. Same for me, Ibjamin. I'm exactly the same as you. So I had 12 with those 3. Gary B, I took a hit when I heard Vardy was out to Jota, and I took Traore out. I don't think he will start, to Bruno Fernandes to get 11 players, then Ings and Rico bench. Nightmare. Absolutely. I suppose the only thing, Gary, which kind of saves your blushes there is a lot of players in the same boat. So I think I read the stat earlier, 88% of the top 10k, for example, own Danny Ings. So everyone's in the same boat, and there's a lot. His ownership is very high overall there as well. If you captained him, it would be a bit rough, because I say he's probably quite likely to come on now, I would guess, if he's fit enough to come on. But then if he is on the bench, he must be fit enough, I suppose. Please let me know as well what everyone's transfers were this week. I'd be really interested in the transfers. It's a really interesting time of the season. I'm not a big fan of the chips in terms of the gameplay itself, but it really, really lend itself to some really interesting scenarios around this time of the season, between like 28 onwards. It's normally 28, 31, 34 and 37. It's great to see how everyone plays the game really, really differently. And this season, using the chips probably isn't as cut and dry as normal. I think in the past, even though there's been various options, there's always been best ways to do it. So everyone who follows Ben Crellin on Twitter, he usually advised the best way to do things. But even he has said, when he was on our FPL podcast a few weeks ago that he's not quite sure what his plan is in terms of when he's going to use all his chips, because there's so many different options. And we also had FPL Roycer on the FPL podcast. We bench boosting next week. It'll be interesting to see what everyone's team's looking like for next week, because mine is looking quite dandy at the moment. I'm tempted to bench boost, but obviously you don't know who's going to play and who's not. So I've got Ings, I've got Vardy. Do I bench boost or not? I don't know if either of them are going to play or not. So and obviously Barnes has had a bit of rotation as well. But yes, it'll be a tough one yesterday to think about the bench boost. Gary B, guessing his rotation with Ings. He hasn't been the best of form on the wider, I would say. He's been quite close to scoring, but I believe he's only scored maybe one in his last 5 or something like that. Obviously, Long has scored a couple in that time, but with Ings as well, he did have a knock this week apparently, which is the main reason he's not starting. Stefan Marstein, welcome Stefan. Thanks for joining in. Did Son and Grealish to Mount and Barnes. Really good moves there. Anyone who is a Fantasy Football Hub member or who is active on Twitter will have seen a new article series we've got out this week, and that first one was comparing Mount and Barnes. They both look like really good options for the next few weeks. So if you haven't seen it, get on Fantasy Football Hub. That is a free article, really, really interesting. Comparing the both of those. Bogdan, a guy from my mini league, used the free hit and captain Vardy and viced Ings. So Bogdan, I can imagine there you were doing a little dance with that if he is one of your rivals. John Tyner sold Holgate, who had gone down in price. Absolutely. John Tyner can't bring in Bruno yet. So I brought in Bruno this week. I'm not really bothered about the fixtures. I'm normally a fixtures person, but it just looks like it's a great plays on penalties. United seem to get a lot of penalties as well. So I do think that he looks a really good option moving forward. Next thing to talk about. So I kind of touched on the chips and blank game week 31. I would be really interested in the chat to hear what are everyone's chip plans the next few weeks. So at the moment with mine, I'm keeping fairly fluid with mine. Anyone who listens to the FPL podcast would know that I've been burnt in the last few seasons, particularly last season, where using my chips actually cost me around 150 points because I took out the players who scored the points for the double game weekers, for the people with the great fixtures that week. So I'm trying this season not to let it dictate my play, but I would be very, very interested to hear in the chat what you guys have got planned in terms of chip strategies. So at the moment my plan was to free hit in 31. I know there's only 3 fixtures, but I think you've got to look at the points that are in front of you, as this week is proven already. All the best laid out plans and all this, you never know what's going to happen with rotation, and at this rate, so if Liverpool and Man City continue to win all their games, I believe it means that after game week 31 the league will be actually won, because that will be that 22 point gap with only 7 games left. A lot does obviously depend on the next week or two in terms of the FA Cup games. Hornet FPL, absolutely, thank you Hornet for that. A lot does depend on these FA Cup games, which will sort out exactly who's playing in 31 and who isn't. But also there's the Champions League games then the week after. Obviously Liverpool are behind to Atletico Madrid, and Man City are ahead against Real Madrid, surprisingly or not. But it's in terms of looking at the points that are in front of you now, I think we need to be quite careful, especially those who have used their second wild card already, because you may be getting in players. Look, injuries can happen. Look at this week: Ings, Vardy, Rico, even Harry Wilson, Snodgrass. All these players who you think would start most weeks. Fairly popular players have all been benched. You just never know. So my kind of theory on it, rightly or wrongly, probably a lot of experienced FPL players would say I'm mad and they've got better records than me for a reason. But I'm kind of looking at what's in front of me actually. Where are the points in front of me, and this is why I'm a bit loath to try and save all my chips and and plan for every every eventuality in every single week. I'm just and this is why I'm tempted to bench potentially next week and free hit in 31. So just having a look at some of the comments in the chat. Thank you everyone. Ibjami Mount has been looking so good, just not producing FPL points. He is due up. I completely agree. He started playing like he was at the start of the season when he was for his price, just returning 6 points, 8 points. That's exactly what you want from a fourth midfielder. Mark Byrne, Armstrong, Infoden, Donker now have 2 transfers to plan for post FA Cup 5th round. Very well played, Mark. Great that you've got the 2 free transfers there. You can obviously look what's happening now and plan accordingly. John Tyner, check out Sam versus Lee this week for players who are due points. Jamming wildcard 32, bench free hit in later doubles and the blanks. I hope it works out for you, Ibjamin. I hope everything happens as planned. I'm not convinced that it might. I think we were a bit spoilt last year. Because the league went down not far off to goal difference, obviously, and it was only a point in it. Both City and Liverpool, who we will all have a lot of ownership for, moving into the run-in, had to play their strongest team every single week. I have a feeling it may be different this week. Everyone's saying, Liverpool will want to smash the records. Will they? No one knows. So that's just people's biased opinion. In my opinion, is Liverpool fans and people with all those Liverpool owners want them to go and smash the records. I'm sure they will smash records. I'm not saying they won't. They're a fantastic team, but in Klopp's mind, if they're still in Champions League, if they're in the in the semis, in the final, I'm sure he would rather win the Champions League again than than break a record, which they're likely to break anyway, in all honesty. What a team they have turned out to be. And the same for Man City. So they have a lot of rotation anyway. De Bruyne and Ederson maybe are probably the 2 you can count on week, but all the rest, Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, Jesus, Sterling's back now as well. Sane was back, so I believe he played in a friendly match. It might have been yesterday or the day before. There's going to be a lot of options there for Man City as well. So this is why I'm kind of looking at the games that is more in front of me rather than not. Andrew Ferguson in the chat, only have my free hit left, which will probably be used in a double game week. That is fair enough, but it really depends how mine is looking player-wise. Bogdan, hope Liverpool lose to Chelsea in the FA Cup so I don't have to use the free hit in 31. Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what happens with those matches and whether Klopp will put out his kids or not. I'm not. If there are any Liverpool fans in the chat, I reckon he may play 6 or 7 of his kids. And maybe a few of the more senior players, but I just can't see him playing a full 11 again, especially against Chelsea. The FA Cup is a major trophy. I'm not sure. Obviously, they're playing this evening. They've got Bournemouth in the early kick-off next week, followed by the Atletico game. They've got a lot of games. If Chelsea do beat Liverpool, it means Liverpool will play in 31. And who's to say actually that Liverpool's kids can't beat Chelsea? You would imagine not, but Chelsea don't have much more to play for. We will have a quick touch on the race for top 4 in a second. Obviously, that is really all they've got to play for. It'd be really interesting to see what happens in that Chelsea-Liverpool game and how it will affect everyone else. Very quiet on the match front, so still just the 1 goal for anyone who is joining in late. So it's Bournemouth 0, Chelsea 0, Newcastle 0, Burnley 0, West Ham 1, Southampton 0. So it was a goal for Gerard Bowen with the assist for Pablo Fornals. The big news is Danny Ings is on the bench. That is the major news, along with players like Rico and with Vardy injured yesterday. Not great times for FPL managers. I think, John, you asked what the weather was like earlier. I didn't look. The weather is very, very stormy. I live at the valleys in Wales and around the valleys, and yesterday there was flooding absolutely everywhere. bit of a nightmare getting home when I was hoping today that the signal would carry. Seems to be going okay so far. If it does drop off. There's been a goal in the Southampton game. Southampton have equalised. Looks like, also in the chat, Matthew Jones, Obafemi. So maybe Ings isn't that urgent to get on. Obafemi has scored. He's taken his chance for Southampton. So that wipes out any West Ham goalkeeper or defenders points. Not that there may be many. If anyone knows who's got the assist, please let us know. I haven't got my Twitter up at the moment. Please let us know. Anyone who has got the assist, but goal for Southampton. They have equalised. Thank you so much for everyone on the chat for that. It would be maybe a bit harsh to bring him off now, potentially at half time, but we will see. But goal for Southampton. So just to carry on my boring story about the weather. So that it's been snowing all morning as well now, and there's flooding everywhere and wind. So not the best. Managed to get online, hoping it holds out. I can hear the wind whistling outside at the moment, but hopefully we'll be able to stay online. So that's West Ham 1, Southampton 1. So clean sheet wipeout for Fabianski et al. We were talking about game weeks 29 and 31. Someone asked, what is the % chance of a double game week in 29? So it's a Ward-Prowse assist. That sounds probably like a set piece, I would guess, seeing he's playing in a defensive role. But FPL have confirmed a Ward-Prowse assist for an Obafemi goal. So well done, Southampton. Forget about levels. And there's been a goal at Chelsea, I believe. Goal at Chelsea. We'll wait to get the goal scorer any second, but Chelsea have scored. If anyone can get it, Alonso, we're hearing on the chat. Alonso again. If anyone brought in Alonso, well done. He's looking like a really good option. We mentioned this in the build-up. If he can keep his place, he's looking like a really good option. So Alonso with the goal. See if we can find out who has got the assist now. Alonso scores again. Don't think we know yet who's got the assist. Yeah, if anyone knows, please let us know. But 2 goals in 2 minutes. It's probably Giroud off the post. Bogdan, is that for the assist? If it is, please let us know. It hasn't come up yet on FPL. But a goal for Alonso. He's looking like a really, really good option for the next few weeks. Looks like Giroud hit the post or hit the bar. And then Alonso popped it in after that. So Chelsea 1-0. Those with Rico can breathe a sigh of relief. It doesn't look like he would have got you any points anyway. Or maybe a 1-pointer. So well done to anyone who brought in Alonso. Ibjamin, my YouTube team's Chelsea game is more than a minute behind. Still no goal on my game. Oh, Ibjamin, I'm so sorry. We're saying that we're telling Ibjamin all the action on all the goals before it's happening, because he's watching it on a stream and the goal hadn't gone in. So apologies, Ibjamin, for that. Please stay on. Please stay on, especially if you're a Chelsea fan. I mean, as long as Chelsea scoring doesn't really matter, does it? We've got confirmation of the Giroud assist there for Alonso's goal. Apologies, guys. I'm just updating the scorers here on the chat. Okay. Is Alonso an option now? Notorious Nerd. I think so. I think if he can keep his place, I'm not sure how much it's actually. I would guess he's probably about 6 or 6.5. But Chelsea do have a nice run of fixtures actually. Let's just have a quick look at their run of fixtures coming up. So in game week 29, Chelsea they're home to Everton, then they've got Villa, then they've got Man City. Obviously, that's not nice, even though they are home. And Alonso can probably score against anyone. He likes to score against Spurs, I know that. I think he scored 3 in his last 3 against Spurs. They've then got West Ham, Watford and Palace. And if we just extend that out, so I'm looking at the Hub fixture ticker here. If we extend that out a bit further, Chelsea then have Sheffield United, Norwich, before they finish off with Liverpool and Wolves. But for those next, those next 8 games, so Everton, Villa, Man City, West Ham, Watford, Palace, Sheffield United and Norwich, I think he could potentially be a great option there. And Alonso moves up to 10 points. His effective ownership is just 0.7% as well, which is incredibly low. So I think he is a really good shout. And also, Alonso had a red card versus Bayern, means he can't play in the second leg. So I think potentially, and also because he's classed as a defender, he get the clean sheet points as well. So he could potentially be the one to look for. I'm sure he'll be mentioned in a lot of podcasts this week. Kevin Rose, I'm in South Africa. I'm watching with friends. Who do you say goal, Alonso? So I said I feel a goal coming as we're also around a minute behind. Well done, Kevin. You should be laying bets with your friends. You could look like an absolute genius, Kevin, if this comes in, and the same view of Jamin and anyone else who is watching on a stream. I think our stream is only about 12 seconds behind it going live, so anything that happens here is pretty instant. And also you've got the guys, all the usual guys on the chat who are very, very quick off the mark as well, so you would tend to hear and see what is going on here first. Notorious Nerd Robertson to Alonso next week for me, possible. Could be, I suppose it depends on what happens in the FA Cup game, because obviously Liverpool have that game in 31, then it may not be the best one there. I just wanted to look at the fixtures for the next few game weeks, for the next 6 game weeks, in terms of the fixtures for who have got the best fixtures in the league. Top of the fixtures are Wolves. So Wolves next 6 games. So we noticed everyone has been loading up on Jimenez, Traore, Jota, Bolly, Saiss, Doherty. There's been a lot of Wolves chat. We certainly chatted a lot this week on the FPL podcast around Wolves' assets, but you can see why their fixtures are actually quite insane. So the next 6, they've got Brighton, West Ham, Bournemouth, Villa. I mean, those 4, you probably don't get better than those 4. Arsenal at home, probably a nice fixture for Wolves, and then Sheffield United away, and then Everton then, and then Burnley. So for quite a while, Wolves have actually got a really, really nice set of fixtures. Second best, actually, this is quite interesting, is Arsenal. So Arsenal next week are home to West Ham, then they've got Brighton, Southampton in 31. Obviously depending, I think if Arsenal get past Portsmouth in the FA Cup, they would have Southampton, then home to Norwich before they have Wolves and Leicester. So Arsenal's next 4 are very, very nice as well. So anyone looking at Arsenal assets, too good. Newcastle, so I've been holding on for Lascelles this run of fixtures. So Newcastle's run from now until the end of the season is really, really nice actually. They've got Southampton next week, then Sheffield United, Aston Villa, Bournemouth and West Ham before they host Man City. So those next 5 fixtures for Newcastle look really nice. I did sell Hayden this week, which I'm disappointed about because I think he's on set pieces. Goal for West Ham, I believe there's been a goal for West Ham. If anyone can confirm that, let's just have a look, see if we can see that. It hasn't come up yet. I've just had it on my alerts. West Ham goal. We can't. It's not come up yet anywhere. Halle, looks like Halle has scored. Oh, thank you. Ian Bishop and Andrew Ferguson and Ib Jamin and Notorious Nerd. Thank you everyone for confirming Halle. He was in my game week 1 team, not far off. I'm not really sure what happened to Halle, but he is back. He is alive. And someone on Twitter has put great save by Reece James. I'm not sure whether that's being facetious or not. Hopefully he hasn't handballed it, got sent off. Antonio assist. Thank you very much for that. That is in the 40th minute. So a Haller goal with an Antonio assist for West Ham. They are 2-up, and obviously this does maybe slightly increase the chances of Ings coming on a little bit earlier, hopefully. But that is West Ham 2, Southampton 1. Just update the scores, chaps. Will be a second. Prowse and Antonio assist. Wonder if he could be an option. It's just a shame West Ham are just a bit pants at the moment. Notorious Nerd. What's happened to Saints defence? I completely agree. We did a bit on the FPL podcast. It was on game week 24, game week 25, and Southampton had I think it was 5. I think they were 4th or 5th best defensive stats in the last 4, but they just, I know they kept the clean sheet last week when I obviously benched McCarthy last week, but they're not very good at the moment. We'll take a look at Southampton's fixtures in a moment. Ibjamin Doherty, bring Doherty. I'm not sure what's going on there, but in terms of the Wolves fixtures, they've got a really nice run of fixtures. Just look at Southampton's next run of fixtures to talk, because obviously this is quite topical now with things being benched and everything else. They are home to Newcastle next week, so Newcastle, who are currently keeping a clean sheet. I have Lascelles, so please, hoping that stays as a clean sheet. They're home to Newcastle, then they've got Norwich, Arsenal, Watford, before Man City and Everton. So their fixtures do start to tighten up around game week 33. And really good point actually from Seb Fox. West Ham put 2 past Liverpool, so maybe they are looking stronger in attack now. Yeah, I think that may be a good point there, Seb. And in terms of West Ham's fixtures, so their attack, they're not looking very nice actually. They've got Arsenal, Wolves, Tottenham, Chelsea are their next 4, so maybe not the best time to invest in West Ham strikers at this moment, even though they are scoring goals at the moment. So we're into the 43rd minute of the matches, just to confirm for everyone. Bournemouth 0, Chelsea 1. Marcos Alonso with the goal. Giroud assist. Looks like a header or a volley came back off the post for Alonso to poke in. Newcastle 0, Burnley 0. Not much has been happening in that game there at all. If anyone's watching it, please let us know what is going on in that game. We haven't heard much in that game at all. And then West Ham 2, Southampton 1. Goals for West Ham from Jared Bowen and Sebastian Haller, and a goal for Southampton for Obafemi. Assists for Fornals, Ward-Prowse and Antonio in that game. So 4 goals in this half, not bad. We're not doing that badly. Seems we've only got the three games too. So thank you everyone for joining the chat. It is really appreciated. Thank you very much for that. Andrew Ferguson says he played Stevens this week, so it's his fault for that West Ham goal. As we move into the 44th minute in the game, so it's fast approaching half time. FPL averages not very sexy at the moment. The top 10k average is currently 5.4 with 7.6 players left to play. And the overall average is 5.13 points with only 6.5 players left for overall. So if you're managing to score above 7 at the moment, looks like you're having a good game week at the moment. Obviously, this Liverpool game later, Salah and Mane away to Watford, probably not the easiest game, but that is when we will start to see the points rolling in, I am sure. Mate Matic, you saw what goals he received. You can be sure he won't be in the first 11 next game week. Not quite sure we talked about there, mate. Too many fails. I'll switch to Caballero or even Edison if double game week confirmed soon. So we're talking about the goalkeeper. McCarthy maybe. He's he's in my team. He hasn't really done much. I benched him for his only clean sheet last week, so I played Henderson. Notorious Nerd, does this average include hits? Yes, I believe it does. I believe it does include hits. Actually, I may have to confirm that. Guillermo, 5 points for me, and I'm on a grey arrow. Lol, what a game week! Exciting times there. Sorry, yes. Tabia Mohammed has just confirmed. Obviously that those minuses. So in the top 10k, that minus 1.1, and then that minus 0.68 are the hits being taken. I did mention that earlier, but I forgot. I just had a whistle in my ear. So Bournemouth and Chelsea is half time, 1-0 to Chelsea, and Newcastle and Burnley and West Ham Southampton is still 0-0 and 2-1 respectively. They're just going on to the 47th minutes there. Matthew Jones is reporting a Stevens yellow card. Not great for Stevens owners, so he's conceded and he's on a yellow card already. And just to give you a score from the Championship, Swansea have equalised against Blackburn. It's Blackburn 1, Swansea 0. Andrew Ferguson 5 minus 4 so far. 1 lesson: don't do early transfers, kids. If you brought in Vardy or anyone else, that's not good. I'm not sure which is worse actually, whether early transfers or panic transfers at like 6:45 on a Friday night when you've just heard that one of your star players is going to be out. The amount of hits and crazy moves I saw last night was nuts. It's funny. I find that we probably the engaged FPL manager probably spends a lot of their week thinking about their moves so carefully. Plan every detail, and then it doesn't quite come off when you hear Bogdan. Yeah, so if you can hear the whistle, guys, it is coming from the apps I've got open, which is why I'm getting the goals so quickly. Yeah, so that whistle sound. So I've got Bournemouth and Chelsea open just on one of the apps I have open, so I get instant alerts. And that was half time. Newcastle Burnley is 0-0 confirmed half time. And West Ham Southampton, the half time whistle has just gone for those as well. So that is 2-1 as well. Notorious Nerd, imagine those who did Vardy to Ings before the deadline. That would sting, absolutely. That wouldn't be much fun. And Mate Matic, can't understand why San Maximan bench. I completely agree. I think he's a wonderful player. I really think I think I said last week, he reminds me a bit of how Mane used to be and how Adama Traore used to be. You never quite know what they're going to do, and he's incredibly skillful as well with his feet, really fast feet, really good player. Okay, he's not scoring or assisting much, but he's got to get the minutes. You've got to give him the minutes in to be able to get the return. So I'm very surprised as well. I think he looks like a really nice player. Tabia Mohammed did Vardy to Giroud, and then we'll switch Giroud to Aubameyang next game week. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Tahir, if anyone bought Giroud in for a 1 week punt, I think that is good. Even though Saucy's fixtures are actually okay for a while, I think they're okay. Matthew Jones Ings may come on at half time potentially. Aubameyang's fixtures as I mentioned earlier. So they've got West Ham in 29. They could also have the double potentially with Man City if that comes off in 29. Then Brighton, Southampton, and Norwich. The way all those defensive playing at the moment, Aubameyang in 29 looks a very, very nice idea there. Bogdan, I don't think Auba will play the same after the knockout from the Europa League. Not sure. I think he's a professional. I think he's a really good player. It's just obviously all the options that they've got up front. It depends. I think it depends. Looking at the league, how close they get to top four. So with Burnley's current point is taking them above Arsenal in the league. So Arsenal dropped to 10th on 37 points. But as we know, it's crazy. Chelsea are on 47 points, so they are probably safe-ish distance away from the pack. But obviously, if Man City's ban happens and 5th place takes the Champions League place, then you have got, so from all the way down to 5th to 12th, there's only 5-point gap. So Man United currently on 41 points, all the way down. So then you've got Tottenham on 40, Sheffield United on 40, Wolves on 39, Burnley on 38, Arsenal on 37, Everton on 36, and Crystal Palace on 36 also. They're all just 5 points off that 5th place. So it becomes really interesting, actually. I spoke about this on the podcast this week, actually, around teams' motivations towards the end of the season. Those teams that are on the beach, potentially, which Southampton may be one of them, actually. So they're very little threat of relegation. They're 9 points above the relegation zone, but they're also not really going for anything in terms of 4th place. So motivations coming into the last kind of 6 or 7 game weeks of the season is very interesting. You normally see a few defences tighten up, the ones who just need the odd point here and there just to make sure they're safe. But that'll be something probably we talk about in the coming weeks. Just confirm it's half time in all the games. It's Bournemouth 0, Chelsea 1, Newcastle 0, Burnley 0, and West Ham 2, Southampton 1. So we just had a quick look at Southampton there and a few of the leagues and whether Aubameyang's motivation may be there. So Arsenal currently sit in 10th place. So whether the motivation will be there to chase for 4th or 5th or not. But they've also got a lot of options. They've got like Lacazette, even Martinelli, even though he hasn't played the last few. I think he came on in the last game, but he hasn't played the last 2. They've got a few options there as well. So looking at the teams with the worst fixtures then over the next few games, and this is maybe why people sold Grealish as well. Obviously blanked in 28. They've then got Leicester, Chelsea, they're away to Newcastle, then they've got Wolves, Liverpool and Man United. So Villa's fixtures for the next 6 are not nice at all. So anyone who's thinking, of Villa players, I probably wouldn't. Grealish, he's absolutely outstanding, Grealish, and Adam Hopcroft would rip me a new one if I spend too much time on Villa, so I will leave Villa be. But Grealish aside, ignore the rest. For me, Brighton's next 6 fixtures, they've got Wolves, Arsenal, Leicester, Man United, Norwich and Liverpool. So I brought in Webster and Maupay on my wildcard 24 because they had this run of games. I would probably look to get rid now, in all honesty. They've got the second worst fixtures of the next 6. 5 of those teams are all chasing that 4th and 5th spot there. Then Bournemouth, interestingly, so they've got Liverpool next, then they've got Palace, Wolves, Newcastle United and Tottenham, so not the nicest fixtures there. Then Palace, then Man City. A player who has piqued a lot of interest recently is Bruno Fernandes. So I've brought him in this week. I brought him in early just because I think he just reminds me of the impact that Pogba had. I think I think he's good enough to score, assist and play against anyone really. He looks like a top player. So obviously they've got a difficult game this week. They've got Man City next week. They're home to Man City. In terms of whether that's a hard game offensively for Man United, I'm not so sure. They won't see a lot of the ball, obviously, but yeah. Welcome back, Joan Tyner. What did I miss? Wi-Fi went. I'm hoping you know about yours and not mine. Last heard Alonso goal. So since the Alonso goal, West Ham scored again. Haller scored. Antonio assist there, and Giroud got the assist for Chelsea. Just to get you up to date, John. Bogdan, I hear Pogba is back in training. Yeah, can you honestly imagine if they managed to get Pogba and Fernandes in the same team? That would be quite something, Man United. And those fixtures, if we just have a quick look at the fixtures for Man United for when their fixtures properly turn in game week, I believe it's 32. Let's have a quick look. So in game week 31, until the end of the season, Man United have got the best fixtures for the last 8 games of the season in the whole league. So they're home to Sheffield United, then they got Brighton, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Southampton, Palace, West Ham, and they go to Leicester last. But from game week 31, those Man United fixtures look absolutely fantastic. Just some of the teams to look at for the final quarter of the season as well. Everton, Norwich, Leicester, Tottenham. Then they've got Southampton, Wolves, Villa, Sheffield United and Bournemouth. So Everton fixtures for those last 8 games or so. So, Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Sidibe potentially, Holgate, if he keeps his place. These last 8 games of the season, obviously a couple will be moved for doubles, but all the fixtures will obviously be the same. Watford, if they can pick themselves up. But the one which is really interesting for me is this team in 4th sitting in the fixture ticker, Man City. So they go to Chelsea in 31, then they've got Liverpool in 32. These last 6 games, they've got Southampton, Newcastle, Brighton, Bournemouth, Watford and Norwich. Those last 6 games for Man City are insane. Just to catch up with some people on the chat, Notorious Nerd still trusts Grealish and kept him. I agree with you, Nerd. I think he looks a wonderful player. I really hope he goes to the Euros. He looks fantastic. Seb Fox, Norwich refused to go quietly into the night. Yeah, I think they've kept 3 clean sheets now in their last, I think it's 5 games, maybe 6 games. But Norwich potentially, if we just have a look how their fixtures look for the next few weeks. They've got Sheffield United, Southampton, Everton, Arsenal, Brighton, Watford, West Ham. Their next 7 games are really nice. So I did see a couple of guys put in for Pukki early. He doesn't seem to be doing it at the moment. I do potentially think that Norwich could be a source of points, potentially both in defence and offence. I'm not sure that the Pukki is the one, but they've got 7 really nice fixtures there on the bounce. Tabia Grealish has terrible fixtures. He has, but he's wonderful player. Mark Burn, Martial still injured. I think so. Yes, I think that's right. And just a tip from mate Matic, I will tell you something important. First match of game week 29 is Liverpool against Bournemouth. You can check on FPL Reddit. Will Salah and Mane both play because they got a few days later Champions League. Save your transfer to 1 hour before the deadline. While you know all info, don't rush with transfers. Yep, completely agree with that, mate Matic. There's no point in rushing transfers this week. We will hopefully get early team news on the Liverpool-Bournemouth game. For those who follow on Twitter, obviously there's FPL Rockstar as well as a couple, 1 or 2 other in the knows, and I'm sure mate Matches there are similar ones. What you're mentioning on Reddit there. So yeah, don't rush your transfers this week. Remember that the cost of players doesn't really matter at this time of the season. So as we've learned, those who made early transfers this week have potentially had to take minus 4s to get them back out, which hasn't been that good. Let's just have a look at the bonus points at half time. So there's only the 3 games to go to, which is why I'm here by myself. If there was more, I would have got another person. But for those wondering who joined late, Adam Hopcroft and Rich Clark couldn't make today. Adam is going to watch his beloved Villa play Man City tomorrow at Wembley, and Rich was working. So just to let you know why I'm here on my own today. But there's only the 3 games. So in the Bournemouth-Chelsea game, 3 bonus points at the moment. Marcus Alonso, the goal scorer. Reece James, interestingly. So even though he hasn't been involved in the goals, he is on for 2 bonus at the moment. I've been tipping him up for a while. I haven't brought him into my team, but I think he could be one soon, Reece James, to really, really have a look at. He looks a nice player, very attacking as well, and he took some set pieces last week too. And on 1 point, Aspilicueta and Giroud. So Giroud, who got the assist. The current bonus points at half time for Newcastle and Burnley, Pope on 3, which would probably indicate that Newcastle have done most of the attack. We haven't had many updates actually from that match from Newcastle and Burnley, but Pope is on 3 bonus points, Tarkowski is on 2 bonus points, and Joe Linton is on 2 as well. So that's what's going on with Newcastle and Burnley. Just touch back on the Chelsea game. Rohith Manan, I agree. Alonso and James could be very interesting options for their running. Completely agree. And obviously we will know the outcome of their FA Cup match with Liverpool this week too. So I do agree. Alonso and James could be very interesting options indeed for their running. You just wonder with that midfield with Alonso whether he will keep it or not. They've got so many options in there, but yeah. And just to confirm the bonus points before the second half kicks off, West Ham, Southampton, Haller on 3, Obafemi on 2, and Bowen on 1. So they are the bonus points so far. Don't forget, we'll bring you the team news for Watford and Liverpool at 4:30. Fingers crossed, I suppose, for the vast majority of people in this chat now, the vast majority of the people watching, that Salah and Mane both start. Well, Salah captainers hoping Mane doesn't start, and vice versa. I'm on Mane, so all I want is Mane to start. I don't think it's going to be an easy game later against Watford. I know they haven't been too good, Watford's last few weeks, but they never. I think it's going to be, a hard game to imagine. In hindsight, I was wondering whether Alexander-Arnold may be a better captaincy option, but I'm going for Mane. My rank isn't the best. I'm in a bit of a tough season this season, roughly 650, 700k. So I'm trying to catch up a little bit. Hence the Mane punt. Be very interested to hear some of the ranks that are in the chat. If anyone's got any really good ranks or not, please let us know where you are. Be really interesting. Just let everyone know Bournemouth and Chelsea has just kicked off again. They're into the 46th minute there, and Newcastle and Burnley has kicked off as well. So Bournemouth 0, Chelsea 1. They're in the 47th minute there now. Newcastle 0, Burnley 0. They've just kicked off. West Ham 2, Southampton 1. They haven't kicked off yet. They will be kicking off any minute. So we've touched on the race for top 4 and relegation. Be interesting to see who people think in the chat will actually make the top 4 or 5. Who are the teams who's going to make it, or who are the teams who are, who you want to actually make it? I personally, I'm a Spurs fan, and I've been a bit frustrated, to say the least, with Spurs this season. Obviously, I hope Spurs make it, but I would say that I do hope Sheffield United and Wolves, I think, are the teams who deserve it this season. What Wilder has done with Sheffield United and that team, the amount of effort and running and everything they put in every single week has been absolutely incredible. And with Wolves, I think I think the way they've managed to navigate their way through the Europa League, as well as produce the performances they have in the league, is pretty sensational as well. So I hope Sheffield United and Wolves can both make it into Europe at least, into the Europa at least. It would be great if one of them made it into the Champions League. That would really, really shake things up. So some of the ranks that are coming in: Andrew Ferguson, 180k so far. Nice rank, Andrew. David Tucker, 2k. TTA, I'm assuming you mean TAA, with the armband today. 2k. What a rank, David. Congratulations. That is absolutely fantastic. And good afternoon to you as well. John Tyner, 4 red arrows in a row, from 993k to 1.6 million. That is tough going, John. Tough old season there for you. Not good. No goals yet to talk about in any of the second half games so far. Notorious Nerd, 28k live FPL rank at the moment. Great rank, Notorious Nerd. Really well played. Bogdan, 53k. Oh, they're all shooting up. Sorry, guys. I missed a few then in the chat. Robert Menon, 300. I think it's 384k or 304k. Been between 200k and 300k for the past 10 weeks. It's very frustrating when you can't really seem to move up. But keep the faith. I really think that this time of the season is around patience and keeping your discipline more than anything else. It's very easy to try these these rash, radical moves. Keep the faith. You can go for differentials, but don't go mad with it. Don't take loads of hits. Don't try and go stupidly radical. Just play your own game, and I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will climb. Bogdan, big change for Giroud. Yeah, he seems to have really come into his own. What a fabulous player he is. He was a great player at Arsenal. I was, as I say, as a Spurs fan, I used to hate Giroud because he was just such a wonderful player, and he really is a good player. I wonder if he can keep his place now. We're not sure how long Abraham's out for. I don't believe he's played the last two. I think it was a recurrence of the injury he had before. I don't think he's going to be out for too long. But Giroud, I think the thing I like about Giroud and maybe prefer him a little bit to Abraham is his unselfish play and the way he brings the midfielders into the game more as well. Maybe this is has coincided with Mount's return to form potentially. Billy, 212k. Well done, Billy. That is a good rank at this time of the season. George the Spartan. I have Mane, Salah and Arnold in my team. Same for me. I'm in a mini league of 6. I'm joint first. Other teams have double defence, either Salah or Mane. So I keep my team as it is. Absolutely, George. I would keep it as it is for the time being. I think Salah and Mane. So if you look, they've got Watford later. They're home to Bournemouth next week. I can't see any reason to switch it up. And you've also got the option there of which one the captain. So if your rank is really high and you want to consolidate, you can probably keep your captain on Salah. If you do want to do something a bit different, you can put it on Mane. It's not so easy to put it on anyone else there, George. You've got a really good team there. Guillermo Roldan, Alonso looking sharp. Thanks for that, Guillermo. Alonso is certainly on my radar for the coming weeks. Jamin, I've had green arrows every game week since game week 9, currently at 3.5 million. I started playing this for the first time quarter into the season. I was going to say, Jamin, if you've had green arrows for the last however many weeks and you're still at 3.5 million, there's something wrong, but I can understand this now. Is this your first season, Jamin? It'd be interesting to know if it's your first season or not. Notorious Nerd, I think Wolves can cope best with Europe. Not sure about Sheffield United. I would agree with that, Nerd. I think that Wolves are showing that they're doing it. Wolves are looking fantastic in Europe, also looking really, really good in the league. I think they've built a good squad, and I do like the way that the manager rotated their team last year a little bit, giving players like Vinagre, Traore, players like Neto, all these players, giving them game time to keep them, to keep them fresh, so for when they're needed, that they're ready to come in and do the business, but also keeping players like Jimenez, Jota, all these players fresh as well. I think Wolves are really good team, really well run, and I think Jimenez is I'm not sure I'd say world class yet. I think that's probably a bit much, but he's certainly not far off. Just so everyone know, Bournemouth 0, Chelsea 1 into the 53rd minute there, Newcastle 0, Burnley 0. Come on, Lascelles clean sheet. Please keep it going. And West Ham 2, Southampton 1. Be interesting to see if there's any sign of Ings at all. No sign yet, I believe. David Tucker brought in Perrier. I'm not sure who Perrier is, and Reece James for -4 this week. Unfortunately, Perrier didn't work. Fingers crossed for Reece James. Sorry, David, you've lost me then. That has gone completely over my head. I presume you mean Ricardo Pereira. If so, really good move. Obviously, it didn't work last night, but he's a really good option going forward. Pereira, fingers crossed for Reece James. Completely agree, David, and I think he's a really good option. Reece James, certainly got my eye on him. Andrew Ferguson, I've got 6 green arrows in the last 8 games. We've definitely be a red arrow this week. You never know, Andrew, who's your captain? This is who your captain is. You never know, and let me know who you've got left, because everyone is having a stinker. If you look at those averages, so the average has just refreshed now. Top 10 average is 5.58 with only 7 players left, and the overall average is 5.4. Don't panic. One goal. Bournemouth have scored. Just to let everyone know, Bournemouth have scored. So that Reece James thing we were talking about there, not good. Bournemouth have scored. There's been a goal, so I will try and bring you that as soon as we hear about it now. Clean sheet gone. Matthew Jones says Lerma header. So I would guess Fraser assist. I like to always guess who the assister is. I guess Fraser. David, you spoke too soon, sadly, about Reece James. Chelsea just cannot seem to keep clean sheets. They are unbelievable. Ryan Fraser assist. Down in verse. There we go. Fraser assist. So 1-0. So it's Bournemouth 1, Chelsea 1. For those who missed that, then Ryan Fraser assist. Lerma header. You would guess it was from a set piece. I would guess there. I'm just going to update the goal down the bottom. Jens is going to break Chelsea defenders' hearts to see this updated now. Apologies for that. Assists Giroud and Fraser. VAR to the rescue. Oh, David is saying VAR to the rescue. So still showing 1-1 on my app after 55 minutes. Sean Murphy said it was a corner. So a Fraser corner, Lerma assist. Looks like that Bournemouth goal. And Matthew Jones says Ings is on, which is very early. It's only 53 minutes gone. Bufalov for Ings. So that is interesting. Southampton obviously chasing the game. So come on, Ings. I think the vast majority of us have got Ings. Come on, Danny Ings. Get a penalty. Get anything. Make up for all the dross you've given us over the last few weeks, especially when I captained you 3 weeks ago and your team scored 3. West Ham have just scored, I believe, again. West Ham. So Ings has come on, but West Ham have scored. Matthew Jones, Antonio goal, I believe. Mate Matic, Ham goal. Come on, Daddy. Ibjamin, I'm assuming you're referring to Danny Ings then, and not me. Mate Matic, you've got Antonio. What a move that is if you do have Antonio. A goal and an assist for Antonio. Not bad, that is incredible. And Ninja Polar Camel says Armstrong to Ings would make my day, but another goal for West Ham. So Southampton go 3-1 down, which I suppose is good news for Danny Ings, potentially. 54 minutes gone. Fornals again. Is that a Fornals assist, Andrew, I'm assuming? And Bournemouth have just scored again, I believe. I think Bournemouth may have just scored against Chelsea. So if that's the case, we are seeing the goals flying in now. Bournemouth have just scored against Chelsea. It is 2-1. Josh King goal for Bournemouth. Thank you, Andrew, there. Josh King goal for Bournemouth. 2-1 up. So that is a quick turnaround of events then. I'm going to have to take a minute to catch up, guys. I do apologise with the goals and the assists down the bottom. But Bournemouth 2, Chelsea 1, Newcastle 0, Burnley 0, West Ham 3, Southampton 1. We are seeing the goals flying in this afternoon. Just going to update the goals down the bottom, guys. Do apologise for this 1 second. Goals flying anywhere. VAR pending check on the Bournemouth one. Smith assist for the Bournemouth goal. Sean Murphy, Smith assist. Not sure how many of us have got Smith. Just updating the goals. One second, the goals and assists, guys. Assist. Jake Stacey says he got the assist. I wonder if that is a set piece. I think he has taken a few set pieces in the past. So 2-1 to Bournemouth. No VAR'd out goals this afternoon. Just to let you know, Swansea have scored away to Blackburn. So it's Blackburn 1, Swansea 2 in the Championship. Obviously, completely non-FPL related there. So the goals flying in now. That's 2-2 for King since his return from injury. Is he an option? Well, it depends. If he keeps his place, absolutely. I think he's normally on penalties as well. If we just have a look at Bournemouth's fixtures coming up for the next few weeks, Bournemouth's fixtures actually they're not that nice actually, but make of this what you will. Liverpool Crystal Palace, Wolves, Newcastle, Man United, Tottenham, Leicester, Man City. So they've got 2 nice ones, but only 2 in the next 8. So Bournemouth ones, not much good there. Mate Matt, does anyone already have starting lineups for Liverpool? If anyone can get onto Twitter, get onto FPL Rockstar, and see now if we get any early news for the Liverpool game. So a bit of a flurry of goals there. I'm just gonna, sorry guys, again, just gonna update the scorers here, make sure it's all correct and up to date. But Bournemouth 2, Chelsea 1, Newcastle 0, Burnley 0, West Ham 3, Southampton 1. But Danny Ings is on the pitch, so we need a quick hat trick from Danny Ings now for a Southampton comeback 4-3. With 2 McCarthy assists. That will be lovely. Thank you very much. Mate Mattich, Bournemouth are screwed, but I believe they can stay in the league. Well, let's just have a look at their position. So their live position, I'll just refresh the page to make sure I get the most up-to-date position for the league. So that goal for Bournemouth has bumped them up to 15th now, actually. They are on 29 points, a point ahead of Brighton and a point ahead of West Ham. So Aston Villa are on 25 points. Bournemouth on 29, so they are now 4 points clear of the relegation zone, even though Aston Villa do have a game in hand over them. Obviously the one that they are missing this week. Seb, it's a really good point. West Ham and Bournemouth are both scoring goals, but both have awful fixtures running for the next 6. Completely agree with you then, Seb. They're both scoring, but their fixtures are not nice at all. I would certainly not recommend getting them in. Question from Fionan Leahy. Does Skeletto play even though he got 0 mins but got a yellow? I missed that. So he got, well, was it a yellow card on the bench, Skeletto? I'm not sure. If that's what's happened, I would imagine that score would stay, to be honest. But we may have to read the FPL rules about whether a player has to play minutes or not to score points. I wouldn't have thought they would have to. David Tucker think Brighton will get dragged into the bottom 3. Yeah, Brighton at the moment, as things stand, are on 28 points, so they're only 3 points off the relegation zone. Same for West Ham on 27. You would guess that Norwich are probably doomed on 21, Watford on 24, Villa on 25. So yes, really, really tight down there. I think Newcastle now on 32 and Sunderland on 34 are probably all right. But Bournemouth, Brighton, West Ham, Villa, Watford and Norwich is tough. Jamin, a better question about Skeletto is what would you do if you have him? Well, as kind of mentioned earlier, Brighton's fixtures are not good. I think they're the second worst in the league. So just to touch on them again, for Brighton's fixtures over the next few games, they've got Wolves, Arsenal, Leicester, Man United, Norwich, Liverpool, then Man City. So I would say get rid of Brighton assets if you have them. 1, they're not looking good, and 2, their fixtures are not nice either. Fiona, yes, yellow on the bench. So if you had a yellow on the bench, I don't think there's a rule for FPL which would say that the player has to play minutes to score points. So I would guess that you would actually get the -1 if that player was in your team. Just confirm the scores for those who are watching and listening. Bournemouth 2, Chelsea 1, Newcastle 0, Burnley 0, and West Ham 3, Southampton 1. The big news of the afternoon: Danny Ings was on the bench, but he has come on. He is on the pitch now to try and save the day for Southampton, but they are struggling. Fiona, blimey, what a scenario this is. I'm not sure if you've just deleted the comment, but got Hanley on the bench, and Hanley kept a clean sheet. So if Skeletto had a yellow on the bench, but didn't come on the pitch, but had Hanley as first sub, that is a real mind bender. That is really, really interesting one there, Fiona, and I don't know the answer, if I'm being honest, but I would guess that I'm not sure. I don't know, actually. It'd be interesting to hear what everyone in the chat thinks. That is a really good one. I'm sure we brought up on the podcasts this week. No more goals to talk about yet. They're all in the... Bournemouth, Chelsea, Newcastle, Burnley in the 64th minute of their games. West Ham, Southampton kicked off a little bit earlier, so they have just started their 63rd minute. Andrew Ferguson, you may be by yourself today, Andrew, but you're doing a brilliant job, mate. Your FPL knowledge is spot on. Thank you very much. I don't know the answer on that, Andrew, I've got to be honest. I'm just kind of thinking out loud, as you tend to do when you have to keep talking for 2 hours by yourself. But yeah, Jansky says no minutes needed. So, yeah, if that's the case, that is probably the most unlucky thing I've ever heard in the history of FPL, if that's the case, that your player didn't get on the pitch but got booked, which blocked a clean sheet coming off your bench. That is incredibly unfortunate, Fiona, if that is the case. Yeah, I mean, you can't even write that, really. George the Spartan, fab stream. Thank you, George. Thank you very much for that. And I'm hoping this week the quality of the stream is better. I did this last week with a couple of the guys, but I'm up in the attic now, so the wife has booted me up in the attic, and my Wi-Fi signal wasn't the best, but I've bought one of those extenders now, so I'm hoping that the quality of the stream itself is much better this week than it was last week. Thank you for that, guys. Really, really appreciate all the comments and the chat. Ninja Polar Camel, if the Newcastle v Burnley match could finish right now, that would be perfecto. I completely agree. As a Lascelles owner, I brought him in on my wildcard in game week 24. I would really, really like Lascelles clean sheet. Bought him in for this run in advance, actually. So hoping, and I trust that, Ninja, you've probably got Pope as well, I would guess, by the sound of it. Pope was on 3 bonus points projected at half time, so if he is, the Pope owners again, I mean, how he's managed to get all these points with all these fixtures, Pope, but congratulations for those who's got it. Matthew Jones, FPL rules: playing in a game week means playing at least 1 minute or receiving a yellow or red card. Yes, that is not so that basically confirms that that Norwich defender is staying on your bench, and you're getting that -1. If that's the FPL rules, then that is sick, but it is what it is. Thank you, John. The sound is coming through fine. That's exactly what I want. More the kind of stream as well. So we do have the visual. Last week was a bit jumpy and stuff, but hopefully it's much better this week, even with the weather outside, which I can hear the wind howling around me. News then. From Matthew Jones. I don't know where Matthew's getting this from. Mane, Salah, Firmino and Alexander-Arnold all start. So that is the news for the Liverpool game. I'm sure everyone will be very, very happy with that. I certainly am, as a Mane captainer. Really, really hoping that Mane can do the business and finish off what he didn't do last week, where he outscored Salah until obviously Salah scored... until Mane scored at the death, but it got disallowed. That would have been a nice one. But yeah. Come on, TAA from Dave Tucker. Ibjamin Schletto is in my top 3 least favourite FPL players. What a chap. Indeed, Ibjamin. And I think you mentioned earlier this is your first FPL season. Welcome to this group. Welcome to FPL. FPL is a wonderful, wonderful game, and you'll probably notice over the years you get obsessed as the rest of us. Seb Fox has got Pope and Taylor playing. Need a clean sheet for Burnley. Oh wow, yeah, that would be. If you got Pope and Taylor playing, that would be good for you for Burnley. Dave Tucker, Pope to Ryan has hurt. Yeah, Ryan is just. I feel sorry for the players who have had Ryan in. He has had an absolute stinker there. Twitter, Marco Djukic. Yeah, I do believe Marco does get some early team news. Says Salah, Mane, TA and Firmino all start. We will find that out in where are we? We'll find that out in 6 minutes. As soon as we know that, we will bring you that news. Back to the football. Bournemouth 2, Chelsea 1. Goals for Marcus Alonso for Chelsea. So he scored first with a Giroud assist. And then Bournemouth goals from Lerma and Josh King. I haven't updated that on the bottom. I will update that now. Apologies for that, guys. And assists for Fraser and Jack Stacey for Bournemouth. So Bournemouth lead 2-1. Newcastle, Burnley 0-0. You wouldn't have got long odds on 0-0. However, you may have got long odds on this scoreline. West Ham 3, Southampton 1. So goals for West Ham for Bowen, Femi and Haller and Antonio. So they, apologies guys, West Ham goals for Bowen, Haller and Antonio. Southampton's goals were scored by Obafemi. Fornals with 2 assists. Pablo Fornals with 2 assists. Assist for Ward-Prowse for Southampton and an Antonio assist. So well done, anyone who had Antonio. Mate Matic in the chat had Antonio. News from Ninja Paula Campbell. Josh King subbed off. Quite surprising there, maybe, though he has just come back from injury. We can see that the live averages have now increased. So now that the clean sheet points for Lascelles, Pope, Davrabka, Taylor have all kicked in, we have had a bit of a boost on the live average. So the top 10k live average now stands at 11.58 points. There's also 0.84 to come on. I've just had a note what's happened to the stream. Nothing, I hope. I hope it hasn't stopped. No. Apologies guys, I can see the stream might have stopped. It is very, very windy outside. Hopefully comes back on now. I don't know if you can hear me still. Please let me know if you can hear me still. And I say it is incredibly windy outside. It's not the best. Hoping that we can keep going, though it does seem to have stalled for a minute at the moment. Cutting out. It may just be the wind, guys. I do apologize. Mention earlier. Hopefully it will be back soon. So for those who are still watching or listening, hopefully the stream can continue. So the average is 11.58 from 6.83 players. Overall average of 8 with 6 players left. I can see everyone's leaving the stream, which is very, very sad, but I assume if people can't watch, they will leave. Hopefully it can come back. Thank you guys. Appreciate Seb and John. I can hear you. I will keep on talking, but it does look like the video has stopped or is laggy. I've just got a green bar back up now, so potentially, hopefully, it will come back up. But it is, as I say, the weather outside is incredibly windy. I think we've done well to get this far, all honesty. But I will keep going as much as possible. So we're into the 72nd minute now. Bournemouth 2, Chelsea 1, Newcastle 0, Burnley 0, West Ham 3, Southampton 1. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm just gonna refresh my page, which may cause issue on the screen. Apologies for this, guys. I'm just refreshing because my signal is not the best at the moment. We will get back to full commentary any second. Apologies for this. Okay, Andrew says lost it for a minute, but all good now. And lost audio is fine for me. Okay, apologies guys. I'll get on with it. Apologies, lost my train of thought there. Okay, so we've got Bournemouth 2, Chelsea 1, Newcastle 0, Burnley 0, West Ham 3, Southampton 1. Please keep the comments coming in again, guys. We were having... Well, I was on a bit of a roll then, but it seems to have gone because the signal went down. Hopefully, it's all back up again now. So if it is all up again, please keep the information coming through. Please keep your questions, your points, your discussion points coming through. It would be great to carry on where we left off. Ib Jamin just said, not the best Giroud day. Batch shall we on? Oh, that's Batch shall we on? That is interesting. So he has come off. Giroud has come off on the looks like around about the 73rd minute. So those who brought Giroud in for a 1 week punt have been rewarded with an assist, but we're probably hoping for a little more. I would guess against Bournemouth, but Chelsea's fixtures, just to touch on Chelsea's, fixtures for the next few. They've got Everton next, then Villa, then Man City, West Ham, Watford, Palace, Sheffield United and Norwich. So actually their next few games, Chelsea, I would say from an attacking view anyway, look really, really nice. I'm not sure how good they are defensively. Chelsea just seem to keep conceding, which is a real shame because people like Alonso and Reece James we mentioned earlier, they look like really good options, but no. It's just an update from Ninja Polar Camel on the bonus points. Pope on 3 bonus, so they're still managing. Just to answer Seb's question quickly, they've just started the 74th minute there, Seb. So there is about 16 or 17 minutes left, plus stoppage time in Newcastle and Burnley. The average reflects those scores, reflects those clean sheets at the moment. No, I don't trust Chelsea either, nerd. So Pope's on 3 bonus points. Taylor, Fernandes and Tark is on 2. And Ninja Polar Camel says, as a Pope, Taylor and Fernandes owner, this is too good to last. A 0-0 would be a fantastic result for all those who are holding on for that 0-0 there. Please, everyone, put in the chat what your plans are for next week. I'd be really interested what everyone's plans are for next week. And with that now, I'm just going to confirm the Liverpool team news. Liverpool, so the big team news, Joe Gomez is out injured, precaution due to a minor fitness concern, and Naby Keita with a sore hip are both out. So the full team for Liverpool, we've got Alisson in goals, we've got Alexander-Arnold at right back, Lovren and Van Dijk at centre halves, and Robertson at left back. We've then got Fabinho, Wijnaldum and Oxlade-Chamberlain as the midfield 3, with Mane, Salah and Firmino, which very likely means that Salah is on pens, especially as Milner is not on the bench. So good news for Salah owners there that Milner hasn't made it. Subs for Liverpool, Adrian, Minamino, Lallana, Origi, Matip, Jones and Hoover. And the Watford team, just to confirm the Watford team then, they have got Foster in goals. They've then got Messina, Firmino, Cathcart and Kabasele in defence. They've got Will Hughes and Etienne Capoue as the holding 2. They've then got Jelafo, Decore and Sarr. Ismaila Sarr is back in the Watford lineup. He looks a really, really nice player. We will have a look at Watford's fixtures in a minute because Sarr is one who's certainly interesting both from an FPL and a Sky point of view. And Troy Deeney up front as captain. Their bench is Aurelio Gomez in goal on the bench. They've then got Dawson, Welbeck, Chalobah, Gray, Pusetto and Pereira. So that is the Watford versus Liverpool team news. Captain Mane, come on Mane, let's have a goal or two. Just to confirm Watford's fixtures, they've actually got a fairly decent run of fixtures next to. I'm only saying because I was looking for Ismaila Sarr, but they've got Crystal Palace, then they've got Leicester, Burnley, Southampton, Chelsea, Norwich, Newcastle and West Ham. So their next 8 games pretty decent. They've only really got Chelsea and Leicester in that time who were in the kind of upper echelons. They then finished the last 2 games probably not the nicest. They've got Man City and Arsenal the last 2 games there. Thank you, Seb. Hope the stream is working okay for everyone there. So the big news for Liverpool is Lovren starts ahead of Joe Gomez, who has been out with a minor concern. It sounds like Gomez may be back for next week, and no surprises otherwise there. Fiona, you're absolutely right. Only FPL managers hoping for a 0-0. You're right there, and you get Hanley in for Gomez anyway. That's incredible. You deserve it, Fiona. After your first sub, Skeletto got booked without even getting on the pitch. So you absolutely deserve that. Well done on getting your clean sheet for Hanley. Great stuff. John Tyner, come on Salah. Let us know who you've captained, guys, in the chat. We haven't had many goals talking about this second half, so let us know who you're cheering on in the 5:30 game, Watford versus Liverpool. And I agree with you, Ninja Polar Carmel. Sarr back is very interesting as a change to the usual Barnes or Schur? Yeah, Sarr. As I say, the fixtures look nice. Really smart player, very very good player. Matthew Jones says Snodgrass coming on for West Ham. So West Ham, who are 3-1 up against Southampton, bringing on Snodgrass. Nice player, Snodgrass. I wonder if he's been rested. I'm not sure, but he's looked like a really good option. Jansky, Feek. I brought in Gomez. That is just that's just unfortunate, mate. There's nothing you can do about that. Gomez has started I think he started the games from like Christmas time onwards. So you've been very unfortunate there since we're moving into March. It looks like it's just a knock. So hopefully Lovren can do him proud. They can keep the clean sheet for TAA, especially for TAA captainers for a -4. Yeah, I still think for the rest of the season that Gomez is probably a good option, though, to be honest. I wouldn't worry about it. Jansky, these things happen. There's nothing you can do. We weren't told, and it was a good move. You've just been a bit unlucky there. JG hoping Lascelles can sneak a bonus or a goal. Yeah, Lascelles does tend to like a bonus point when they keep a clean sheet. It sounded like in the first half that Pope was the busier of the two captains, so not sure if he will. Let's just have a look if we can actually take a quick peek at the current bonus points as it stands. Bournemouth and Chelsea, the current bonus points as it stands with only about 10 minutes to go then, is King is on 39 points. You've then got Alonso and Lerma both on 31 points. Stacey on 28. James on 22. So it looks like King is the one hoovering up there. Ramsdale has made 3 saves, as has Caballero. And just to confirm the goals in that game, King and Lerma scored for Bournemouth with assists from Fraser and Stacey, and Alonso scored with a Giroud assist. Bookings in that game: Adam Smith has been booked, Christensen and Jorginho have been booked for Chelsea there. So that is that game. Let's move on to Newcastle and Burnley then. So bonus point system, Pope is still on 20, so he's on 28, so he's currently top. Fernandez, the Newcastle defender, is on 25, and then it is all incredibly tight. So Ritchie and Taylor actually are both on 24. Davrabka is on 23, Tarkowski 22, Manquillo 22, me 21, Lascelles 20, Barzi 19. So there is only 6 points separating nearly 9 players there. So anything can happen. So every interception, misplaced pass, shot off target, everything there can all affect those bonus points. So yeah, I'm hoping Lascelles can as well. Just to confirm the saves, Davrabka has had 1 save for Newcastle, and Pope has made 3, hence is why he's doing so well in the bonus. And yellow cards, Shelvey, Danny Rose and Gale have all been booked for Newcastle. Tarkowski and Bardsley have been booked for Burnley as we move into the 82nd minute of that game there. And then finally West Ham and Southampton. So the goals have been scored by Antonio, Haller and Bowen for West Ham, with assists 2 from Fornals, 1 for Antonio. Goal for Obafemi, assist by Ward-Prowse for Southampton. Yellow cards in that game, 1 for Stevens, 1 for Craswell. Fabianski has only had to make 1 save. McCarthy's made 4 saves, so at least we get something to shout about. The McCarthy owners there, that he's made a couple of saves. And in terms of bonus points, Antonio, as you would expect, hoovering the bonus on 41. Haller and Bowen actually both on 38, so they're not too far behind him actually, saying that. Fornals on 33, which seems he's got 2 assists. Probably not the best. Ward-Prowse on 29, Obafemi on 28, McCarthy nowhere near the bonus, sadly for my team. But that's where we are still with the bonus. No goals for a while now in any of the games. We are into the 84th minute in Bournemouth and Chelsea. 83rd minute Newcastle Burnley, that is still 0-0. And West Ham Southampton is 3-1. We have gone into the 82nd minute there. Just a very quick check on the average FPL scores. Don't panic if your scores are low, guys. The top 10k average at the moment is only 11.72 from 6.78 players played. and the overall FPL average, so if you're outside the top 10k, the overall average is only 8.23 with 6 players left. So that's 8 from 6, including captain, which is not good. And just looking at the high scorers of the week, so Lewis last night for Norwich got a 15-pointer. Antonio is on 13 points, very, very low effective ownership. Aarons is on 11 points. Guaita is on 2.32% effective ownership on 11. The big winners this afternoon in terms of the ownership. So Pope has got effective ownership of 38.57%, very, very high. And at the moment he's on for a 10-pointer with Bowen, who was on 0.05% effective ownership on 9 points. They're the ones, Andrew Ferguson there, agree. Getting Pope back a month ago has been my move of the season so far. Completely agree. He has been wonderful for his owners. I took him out on wild card to get the McCarthy and Henderson double up, and ever since then he has managed to smash it. So John Tyner on 18 points, you are more than double the average at the moment. So 18 may not seem spectacular, but you are on double the average at the moment, so congratulations for that. I'm just going to have a quick look at my score. Chelsea have scored. Chelsea have scored in the 85th minute. It is 2-2. Bournemouth 2, Chelsea 2. We'll wait to hear who has got the goal from that. Let's have a look. Alonso gets his second goal of the game. He has just shifted himself into overdrive in terms of the player to get. So apologies for those who are watching it behind, but Marcos Alonso has got his second goal. We did say right at the start that he looks a really good option. If anyone has got Alonso, let us know. Congratulations to anyone who has. Absolutely incredible stuff for Marcos Alonso. We will find out now in a second who has got the assist. Doesn't look like it's coming up yet. Who's got the assist? Sean Murphy asks Pedro assist. Not sure. We'll see if we can work it out now. But 2 goals for Marcos Alonso. Pedro has got the assist. They've confirmed it on their official Twitter. Michael Svedin, Alonso next bandwagon. Absolutely. We kind of mentioned it earlier. We've mentioned it a couple of times actually. How can you drop a player who has just scored 2 goals? In defence as well, absolute FPL legend, Chelsea legend, seems to be right back in the action. I'm sure there will be a lot of chat about him this week. Just to touch on his fixtures as well, and this is the thing which is quite exciting for getting in Alonso potentially. The next 2 fixtures have got Everton and Villa. They've then got Man City, who are not that good at the back. They've then got West Ham, Watford, Palace, Sheffield United and Norwich. So the next 8 fixtures for Chelsea are very, very tempting. If anyone could have a look on the site and look how much it is, it would be much appreciated, because I don't want to just go onto downtime mode. But we're into the 88th minute there with Bournemouth and Chelsea. 2-2. Alonso with 2 goals. If anyone has got Alonso, incredible work. A risk, a risk worth taking, because when he does play, and he's playing that advanced position as well, looks a really good option. Apparently a tap-in as well, which is even better for Alonso owners, means he is right up there in the action. I think he's had 2 tap-ins today, because his first goal was it came after Giroud hit the post, so it sounds like he's had 2 tap-ins. Matthew Jones, you are a swine. Goal at St James's Park as Exeter equalise. I did have a look and it wasn't showing on mine. Very good. Alonso 6 million. So as a defender, that is an interesting option. We are coming to the close of the game now, guys. Notice how the averages haven't changed even that after that Alonso goal, because no one owns him. But what a move for anyone who did bring it in. We're into the 89th minute now. Bournemouth and Chelsea is 2-2. What a good game that seems to have been. Newcastle and Burnley. So anyone holding on to Newcastle or Burnley goalkeepers or defenders. We're nearly into the 89th minute now in that game. And in this final third game, anyone with Danny Ings, cry, have a pint, whatever you want to do, to make yourself feel a bit better. But we are in the 87th minute of that game now. Looks like he is on for a 1-pointer. Touch wood, at least he haven't been booked. But let's hope he keeps his 1 point at least. Hoping for a last gasp goal from him. Just to see if there's anything else going on in any of the games at the moment. Just a stat: Alonso has scored 4 goals in his last 5 Premier League games. Yeah, he certainly does look like a really good option. It looks like Alonso, so if we look at the top scoring players of the week, even though Chelsea have conceded twice, Alonso shoots to the top. He has got 0.7% ownership, 16 points, top scorer for the week so far. That will obviously include his bonus points, but 0.7%, incredibly low. 16-pointer for Alonso. We're just going past the 90-minute mark in Bournemouth and Chelsea. To all there, coming up to the 90th minute now for Newcastle and Burnley. Fingers crossed for the clean sheets for anyone who's got Newcastle and Burnley players. What to do with Ings, Michael? That's a really, really good question. The thing is, next week, their next 2 games are Newcastle and Norwich. This is the problem. He did apparently have a very, very minor knock, which only meant that he could train, I think it was just yesterday. So he will probably, very, very likely, come back next week for that Newcastle game. You would guess. Yeah, Ings fixtures are nice. So just to clarify, they're home to Newcastle next week. They're then away to Norwich, home to Arsenal, away to Watford. So their next 4 fixtures are nice. Even though Arsenal, in all fairness, seem to have tightened up a little bit, that would be a blank game week. However, if Arsenal progress, if they kept, but their next 2, Newcastle, Norwich, it would take a brave person to take him out. We're into the 92nd minute of Bournemouth and Chelsea. Ings to Jota, a good move. Notorious nerds. So Wolves next 2 games, Brighton and West Ham. Ings to Jota. I mean, I expect Ings to start the next 2. He's been off form. Ings to Giroud depends on Abraham's injury. Personally, I mean, I like to hold on to players. I brought Ings in for a reason. I brought him in for these games. He will very, very likely start next week. Home to Newcastle. Okay, they're currently keeping a clean sheet. Their defence hasn't been great. I'm tempted to hold on to Ings, but then it's getting to that time of the season. If you want to take a few risks, to go and do it. But we're never sure when Abraham will be back. And Giroud came off early today as well, so maybe not sure is the best move, because even if he does play, it looks like he's coming off early. The games are coming to a close now, just to confirm. Bournemouth Chelsea has just gone into its 93rd minute, 2-2 there. Newcastle Burnley is into its 92nd minute. The clean sheets look safe there. Touch wood, they look safe for Newcastle and for Burnley. And West Ham Southampton has just passed the 90-minute mark there as well. FPL averages 11.67 points off with only 6.78 players left. It's all going down to this Liverpool game later. That Salah versus Mane captaincy thing could be massive. And then the average, other than that, is 8.27 off 6 players. My current team's score, I'm on 11 minus 4, so I'm on 7 points. So I'm just slightly below the average. But as I say, I've got a fair few players to come. I've only had a few players play today. Hoping Tanganga starts, because he'll be coming off my bench for Vardy when Spurs play. Alonso almost hat-trick. Guillermo and David. Alonso looking like a potential really good option. That game's just gone into the 94th minute there. on that one. It should be finishing any second there. Newcastle Burnley is into its 93rd. West Ham Southampton is 92nd. The games are due to finish any minute there. Wonder if we will get a last gasp goal in any of the games. At the moment we haven't. Tanganga start would be nice if Jamin absolutely bought him in and he got dropped. I think he started last week. But yeah, they got Wolves, not expecting much anyway, but even a point or two would be nice, especially considering that a lot of players probably won't get 11 players out this week. None of the games have finished yet, apparently, though they are going into their 94th, 95th minute. Are we going to see a last gasp goal? What would everyone like to see now in this last minute? What was the last gasp thing you would like to see? Mine would probably be a Lascelles header in the 95th minute off a corner to grab a 15-pointer for Lascelles and to wipe Pope's clean sheet. Anyone else's views would be interesting. John has Aurier in his team. Yeah, Newcastle lose the clean sheet. David Ironside, you swine! I need my clean sheet. Armstrong, please. Reece James winner. Pope goal. Fionan, you never know. To come up for the last minute to try and claim the points. All the games are still playing. Bournemouth and Chelsea is about to go into its 96th minute, so I'm not really sure what's happened there. If anything, Newcastle Burnley is going into its 95th minute. For those, keep your fingers crossed for those clean sheets. They will be coming any second. Newcastle Burnley's finished. Newcastle Burnley has finished. It is 0-0. Congratulations, anyone who has got Newcastle or Burnley defensive assets. I was going to bring Charlie Taylor in this week, and I didn't because I got rid of De Bruyne in the end, but Taylor would have been my move. He was on a couple of bonus points earlier as well. I didn't see how that pans out. And Bournemouth and Chelsea has also finished as well, 2-2. So that game is finished. 2 goals from Alonso, 16-pointer from Alonso. What an incredible pickup he would have been for anyone. So the only game going on, I believe, is just finished. West Ham Southampton has now just finished as well, 3-1. So all 3 games have finished. Just a very, very quick rundown then of the games. Bournemouth 2, Southampton 2. So Bournemouth, let's just wait for this to come through. So Bournemouth scored goals through Lerma and King. Chelsea scored 2 goals through Alonso. Giroud assisted Alonso's first goal, and Pedro assisted the second goal. The second game, Newcastle Burnley 0-0. Nothing much happened in that game, nothing exciting. You could probably guess, though, that was 0-0. And then West Ham 3, Southampton 1. The big news was Ings was dropped. And then, this is all from memory, guys, Antonio Halle scored for West Ham. Fornells had 2 assists. And I can't remember the third goal, but I will just look to finish up now then. So don't forget to catch the live FPL podcast by Fantasy Football Hub on Monday evening at 8 p.m. Will Thomas will be hosting this week, so I'm having a break this week. I'm off to a UK garage evening in Cardiff. So Will Thomas is leading that one on Monday. Adam Hopcroft will be on with Andy Green, and also this week we will have guest Threadmaster Neil Murray on as well. So at Ronaldinho will be on the FPL podcast by Fantasy Football Hub on Monday evening. The brilliant Will Thomas will also be recording his excellent preview and videos throughout the week on this YouTube channel, so please be sure to keep an eye out for those. If anyone hasn't subscribed or alerts, please make sure you subscribe or put your alerts on so you can always catch us then when we go live. Tomorrow night we'll also be recording our live Sky Fantasy podcast, so if anyone plays Sky, which will go on their dedicated podcast feeds and YouTube channel, search for Fantasy Football Hub, Sky and TFF. So we'll be recording that tomorrow live with Dan Cox and Paul McNulty all things Sky Sports Fantasy Football. All details and links on the Fantasy Football Hub website, which is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you'll also find everything you need for fantasy football, all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals in all fantasy formats, and much, much more. If anyone wants a free 7-day trial for Fantasy Football Hub, for those of you who aren't Hub members, you are missing out. Fantasy Football Hub is the place to be. Everything you need for fantasy football, all under one roof. 7-day free trial. Just go onto this onto the website. It's also in the description below. There's a link to fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. Thank you all so much for following and listening. Thank you so much, guys, for all your interaction today. Quite tough, obviously, doing it to one person today. Haven't stopped talking for 2 hours and 10 minutes, but really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed all the chat, enjoyed all the interaction. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We'll be back next week. We have got, I believe it's 5 games next week, hoping to have someone on next week, also either Adam or Rich or both, or if not, I'll probably get someone else on, because 5 games would be quite hard to keep on top of. But I will be back at 10 to 3 next week to do it all again. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate all your comments in the chat. Really enjoyed. Apologies all that it went down for a little bit in the middle. As I say, the weather outside is a bit horrific at the moment in the Welsh Valleys. But I hope you all have a brilliant FPL day. Best of luck for tomorrow as well. And bye for now. Thank you so much, guys.